We're now going to develop our knowledge on Flowol slightly further and create slightly more complex flow diagrams. Before we get on with that, let's have a little bit of knowledge recall. So from the last lesson, what are the interactive images called in Flowol? So what were they called? The things that we loaded up, the images that we could actually work on. And what shape is a delay command on a flow chart? So think about our weights that we had in our flow charts last week. What shape were those delays? Then from previous unit, do rows in Excel go horizontally or vertically? You need to answer that. And last week you had to answer what an input device is. This week you need to answer what an output device is. So complete those 4 questions in your ePortfolio. You can pause the video while you complete those. Hopefully you remembered that they were called mimics. That are the images that we could control in Flowol. A delay, we use a rectangle. There is another shape for a delay. So we did look at that previously. You can have that as an answer, but generally we just use rectangle. So it's a process for a wait. Horizontally is what rows are in an Excel spreadsheet. And output devices are things that get information from the computer and you can see them or hear them. So things like a monitor, a printer, plotter, or speakers or headphones. They are all output devices. Hopefully you've got those answers correct and we can move on with learning even more knowledge. So looking at today's lesson, you are going to look at creating a sequence with subtasks. So in Flowol today, which are the ability to use subroutines. So we're going to carry on making algorithms for multiple tasks, understand the subroutines, and update our ePortfolio as we progress. Thinking back to the bridge mimic that you had last week, where we set the traffic lights on one side of the bridge, what we're going to go back to today is working out the lights on the other side of the bridge. So this is the answer that you probably had last week. We've got turn output 3 on, which was the red light. Wait, turn output 2 on, which was the amber light, wait another second, and then we've got turn off outputs 1, 2, turn outputs 1 and 2 on, and 3 off. So you can build it up using different outputs at the same time, and hopefully you've got that answer, something along those lines. So we're going to move on with the next mimic, which is a lighthouse. So you can open up Flowol and open up the lighthouse mimic. And once you've opened it up, you can click on the mimic itself and see what the different inputs and outputs are. See if you can understand what elements you can control in that mimic. So you can pause the video while you do that. Okay, hopefully you've found out that the sun is an input and the outputs on the lighthouse are the beam, the light itself, the main light, the horn. Although it doesn't make a sound, you can visually see that the horn is on or off, and there are lights actually inside the lighthouse for the lighthouse keeper, so we can see inside the lighthouse when it's dark. So that's what we're looking to create. You're going to create a flow chart in Flowol to make all the outputs come on and off. So think about the beam of light going on and off to warn ships that there are rocks here. Think about the horn that will sound to alert ships to the danger. And think about the lights that the lighthouse keeper might have on. And once you've done that, you can add that into your ePortfolio. So I'm just going to demonstrate here how the Flowol one works for the lighthouse. So we can open up the lighthouse mimic. Give it a second. So use a mimic and find the lighthouse. And we've explored already what the different inputs and outputs are. I'm going to create separate flow diagrams. So I've got to start, and I'm going to start with the main lamp beam. So I'm going to have an output. If I go back to my start, I can tell it that I want that to be a start. My main output is the lamp, so I'm going to switch the lamp on. Click OK, and just a reminder that I need to connect the different parts of my flowchart. So I've got the lamp on. I'm going to then put a delay in. I'm going to keep my lamp on for, while I'm testing, I'm just going to put it as 1 second. And then connect up the elements. And then I'm going to turn my light off. So output, I'm going to turn the lamp off. So lamp off. Okay, again, connect the elements together. And then at the end of that, I need an end. So I'm just going to drag in here a stop. Okay. And connect the parts of my flowchart together. Now obviously you're going to do the same, create another sub-program. You can drag another start symbol in and do another one for the foghorn and another program for the lights itself. So you'll end up on this one Flowol having 3 different flowcharts, and that's what you're looking to create. So let's have a look at the PowerPoint. In fact, before we do, let's just run this one, see what happens. So start, hopefully the lamp switches on. It does. I've got a delay for a second and then switches the lamp off. So the lamp should go off and then it stops. So that's the process for the lamp turning on once. Obviously I can loop this round, but we're going to do something slightly different in a moment. So I've just told it to run it once. So let's go and have a look at the PowerPoint. We've had a look at the Flowol. Here are the 3 different answers we can have. So here's the light, here's the main beam, and here is the foghorn. So you'll have 3 different programs that you need to create. If you've created those already, brilliant. If you haven't created those, we just need to pause the video and get those 3 individual elements working. Okay, we're now going to add something called a subroutine. So this is a small little program in its own right. So we're going to set each one of these for a subroutine. And I'm just going to show you how we do this. I'm just going to pull up the Flowol again. And we can, when we go to, I'm trying to think how we do this, start, we can just click sub. And we can name our subroutine. So this is the lamp. So I've called it lamp and clicked OK. So this now becomes a subroutine for my lamp. And what I can do is also very quickly, I'm going to write another subroutine that you've already got. So I'm just going to change my subroutine. In fact, I'm just going to have a sub here, and this time it's going to be for the foghorn. So I'm just going to call it horn. Click OK. And it's going to be almost identical to this, so I can just put in an output for the turn the horn on. So when I click that, foghorn on. And click OK. And I'm very quickly going to put my delay in, and again I'm just going to put this for a delay of 1 second once my computer catches up with me, and then I'm going to just on the output turn the foghorn off. So you should already have this, hopefully. My computer is going very slow. Foghorn off, okay. And I can then put the stop in. So I'm just going to drag the stop in. What I haven't done with my flow diagram as I've been building this is I haven't put the flow arrows in between, so I do need to complete those, otherwise my algorithm won't work. Let's just wait for the computer to catch up. So I can now just go from there to there. Has it done the first one? From there to there. Okay. And what I'm going to do is now write another program. And we'll just see that in just 1 second, where I actually use subprograms, subroutines in my actual program. So once you've written a subroutine, you can use it over and over again whenever you need to. And that's the beauty of using subprograms. So it's more efficient, it saves time, it's easier to, if you've got an error, to work out what the problem is in a subroutine and go and fix that later. So what I've got here is I'm going to have a new program. So here's my start. And the first thing I'm going to do, once I've told it it's a start, just wait for the delay of the computer, is I'm going to run a subprogram. So I can drag a subprogram into my flowchart now. So it's telling it to actually run the subprogram. And what I can do is it will ask me what subprogram I want to run. So here I can tell it, because I've got a lamp and I've got a horn, I can tell it to run the lamp. And I don't need to repeat this. I can just tell it to run it once. So I can click the 0 and click OK. So what it will then do in my program, it will start the program, it will run the subprogram. So this is the shape for a subprogram, and it says which subprogram it is. Again, I need to just connect the arrows, connect the processes together. So it'll run the subprogram, which is the light. And this is painfully slow while it's catching up. And then after it's run that subprogram, what I'm going to get it to do is run the next subprogram. Just give it a second to catch up. Okay, I think you got the idea from before that I've got the start menu, start shape, then I'm running the subprogram, then I can have an arrow down running the next subprogram, and then I can just loop this back constantly. If I just go to the PowerPoint, we can see the answer in there. So I've got my 3 subprograms already built. You'll be able to see it here, start, and let's just not worry about this input for a second, but it's start, it's going to run the subprogram lights, then the subprogram B, then the subprogram for the horn. Then it can loop back. The next bit I've got in here is a decision. You can try and build a decision in. And this is if the sun is on. So if the sun is on, you need to build up the diamond here. If it is, then you can loop back round to itself, because it doesn't need to do anything. You don't need the lights on if the sun's on. If the sun's not on, then that's when you need to put the lights on, the beam on, and the horn on, and then keep looping round. So that's what you need to be able to build up. Your final task today is to open up the new mimic, which is the big wheel mimic, and have a look what inputs and outputs there are for the big wheel. And you see if you can create a flowchart for the big wheel to get the big wheel to work, get the lights to come on. You experiment what you can do with the big wheel and to create a program for that. Remember to save all your evidence into your e-portfolio as you've been going through the lesson. If you haven't been doing that as you go along, now you need to show evidence in your e-portfolio.